to the podcast. It's a whole new, brand new day. With you and me in this podcast, Dr. Phil will make sure you're okay. Ooh, Dr. fucking Phil, we're gonna climb over this hill, and every sea and rock, and every mountain top until Dr. fucking Phil. The air tonight is still. Let's hear your healing words before something else goes wrong. Let's go to Dairy Queen after the show.
Hello, is it on yet? Where's the fucking song? Oh, we're done doing songs, huh? Thank the sweet Lord, because you know them songs have been pissing me off something fierce here. Well, friends, I sure hope you had a good week. This is yours truly, not Dr. Philip, Calvin McGraw, and this is Filled Up, the only podcast where your mental health gets treated with the utmost care and in the amount of time that it takes me to light a candle outdoors. You know, me and my bag of $80,000 went to see a movie in the middle of the day on Tuesday. The theater was in a dying mall, so the only option was watching the film Home Alone on a public school television cart from the 90s. We sat up towards the front of the screen, partially to avoid bats and whatnot, and I just loved the way Kevin McAllister really could give a fuck less about nearly killing those men. Just about every time Kevin's mom was on screen, I put my hands on my cheeks and shouted, "Kevin," at the top of my lungs before falling back in my seat. It was such a great time. Now, folks, enough about me. I get about 130,000 letters every single week directed towards this podcast. We've just been helping folks here left and right, and people are sending their questions into the podcast, and I've been reading some of them. I've been getting hit with an awful lot of lawsuits lately, so it takes a bit of time to get through the mail. But when I do, I take some of them out to my bowling team to make fun of. And I've got a stack of in a big mason jar right here on my desk. All right. Let me just put the old Phil hand into this jar here and get one out. Let's see. It looks like we have a letter here from Marla from Manassas. Hey, that's a funny damn name, I tell you. Marla writes, "Dear Dr. Phil, my partner Charles and I live in a house with my son from a previous marriage named Stephen. Charles works out aggressively all the time and just looks like he's about to explode the second you look at him. My son Stephen lives in the attic and he seems to be afraid of coming downstairs or going outside. There was a strange odor coming from his bedroom and we found that he was throwing his trash into his closet. He was also in a fetal position, demanding that we shut his door. I tried making him lasagna, but it hasn't helped. Please tell me what to do as long as it's not too difficult. Sincerely, Marla." You know, I get questions about this all the time. "Dr. Phil, my adult child is pissing upstairs, playing video games, sitting around in the fetal position." And I got to tell you, Marla, there's a simple solution to this. First, without knowing your son or the source of his issues, I can confidently say that his only problem is that he is lazy and unemployed. Now, I'd sure love to be able to quit my job and just freeload off of my family, okay? Maybe rock on the floor, having some anxiety for a bit and have some juice. But my family's made it clear since I was in elementary school that they'll kick my ass if I try that. Marla, I think you need to apply the same tough love to your son. You need to threaten to fist fight your son and tell him to get a job. Now, you are probably thinking, But Dr. Phil, I don't want to abandon my son. He may have psychological trauma, and we're family. You have to let that go, Marla. My great-uncle Chocula lived in a ghastly mansion that seemed to perpetually have a thunderstorm raging above it. It made sleeping at his house pretty fucking scary, but there was plenty of chocolate, so it about evened out for the old Philster. Now, Uncle Chocula and I would sit down with a cup of cocoa, and he'd tell me, Philip, turn not to man for guidance, but turn instead to the birds. When you're in doubt, the birds will guide your heart. And he's right, Marla. Birds are nature's parents, and you know what they do? They shove their children out of the nest as soon as they graduate high school, because even birds know that that's the time to get a fucking job. I guarantee you, Marla, that all of your issues, your son's issues, and your violent husband's issues can all be solved by the therapeutic power of shame. Has your husband tried getting a job as well? Also, does your son host a podcast by any chance? It's not easy to give tough love to your loved one's friends. I mean, it's easy for me because I don't really care that much about the value of a human life. But sometimes the only way to get through to people is to grab them by the shoulders and shout directly into their face. That's normally how I order at Wendy's. And that brings us to today's sponsor, folks. And today's sponsor is a little game by the name of Persona 4 Golden. Okay, now I'm an internationally recognized celebrity. And that means that crazy people all over the world desperately need my help and are willing to pay way too damning much money to fly me out there and tell them to get a job. Some of these flights are long, and we all know how terrible the accommodations are in first class. I mean, if I have to watch one more fucking movie that stars Adam Sandler as some kind of jackass, I will single-handedly tear down the airline industry myself. Now, after screaming all that to a flight attendant, I was given a laptop and a controller and some juice. And I figured, what the hell? So I gave this game a little try, mainly because my shouting was making my voice hoarse. And let me tell you folks, this game was fucking amazing. Now, video games are generally bad for anyone to do, but I'm a celebrity, so I don't gotta mean what I say sometimes about that. You take control of a silver-haired protagonist who goes to a high school in Inaba. Once you get there, the television gets haunted, and soon you're inside the TV fighting these little bastards called shadows. But don't worry, because you can shout Persona, and a magical friend will show up and blast them shadows with ice or fire or some other kinds of explosions. And in between your little TV adventures, you get to live the life of a Japanese high school student. I tell you, Yosuke and I had some tough moments, but our social link is maxed out and we are best friends. Best of all, in this game, you can get a job. So go book yourself a first-class flight, scream at the underpaid staff, and get yourself a copy today. Persona, it's edgy. Well, hello again, folks. I'm just as surprised as you are that people keep showing up to this studio, but we got a real special one for you today. In just a moment, we're going to bring out Kaya. Now, after days of psychological examination backstage, I've come up with a diagnosis for Kaya. Crazy. Other, less hostile and more diligent professionals have correctly diagnosed her with something called generalized anxiety disorder. According to ADA.org, about 19% of people in the United States have an anxiety disorder, and that number is growing slowly, thanks in no small part to my aggressive therapy. All right, let's all welcome Kaya to the podcast. Come on out, Kaya. Kaya, go ahead and have a seat right there and tell us what's been going on.
Well, thanks, Dr. Phil. You know, you look exactly like Bald Bull from the video game Punch-Out.
Off to a great start, huh, Kaya?
Well, lately it just seems like the world is becoming a scarier and scarier place. And some days it affects me so much that I feel like I can't do anything. It just feels overwhelming.
Wow, Kaya. You know, I've never heard of anything like that before. What's that? Kaya, what I meant to say was that what you're describing sounds completely understandable and like a condition that I, Dr. Phil, am familiar with as a qualified psychologist. What have you tried to help?
Well, I've been meditating and doing yoga, and those help for a little bit. I just feel so badly. I've been screaming basically nonstop at the neighbors' children.
Well, we've all been there, right, folks? You know, sometimes those little fucks just start beating the living shit out of my car with their skateboards, and I'm just inside the old mansion playing with my wrestling action figures, so I run up to the door in my bathrobe, and I just scream all the worst kind of shit right into the neighborhood.
What the fuck am I supposed even to respond to that?
The point is, Kaya, I do something about it. I don't sit around thinking or talking to people or listening to what they say. I get up and I act on impulse. Like the other day, Billy and I took my bag of $80,000 to Chuck E. Cheese. I just let the top of my bald head blend in with the rest of the balls in the ball pit there. And when kids came in, I'd just jump out and scare the absolute fuck out of them.
So your advice is that I accompany someone named Billy and a bag of $80,000 to a children's restaurant where I lie in wait to terrify people's children.
Fantastic, Kaya. You got it. See, folks, another successful therapy session right here in our studio. Let's hear another round of applause for Kaya, who is now completely cured.
Holy shit. Is there someone else I can speak with?
Yes, but you do have the right to remain silent as well, Kaya. I'll have these officers here explain the rest to you as they escort you to prison here. You see, Kaya didn't sign the release to be on this show, and we really couldn't afford to house her up in a hotel, so she'll have plenty of time to finishing healing while she's being charged for trespassing. All right then, friends, I guess that just leaves today's sponsorship, and then we can all go the fuck home, huh? Well, even though this is a room full of adults, today's sponsor is Capri Sun. Capri Sun. Folks, last week I had myself a little trip to the grocery store after finishing another chapter of my upcoming masterpiece, Got Anxiety? Get a Job. I tell you, the book's coming along so well that I just wanted to get to the bakery and grab myself a big heaping slice of cookie cake to celebrate. I get me one of those on a summer evening and watch reruns of Judge Judy in my underwear on the living room floor. And it's just magic. But before you get that cookie cake, friends, I need you to go out and get yourself something to wash it down. And that specifically is Capri Sun. This goddamn thing comes in its own little pouch here, and it comes with a straw that you just poke through the top. Before you know it, you're sucking out flavor like a deflating blood bag. But if you really want to go that Dr. Phil extra mile, you wrap your clubbed sausage fingers around the pouch and squeeze as hard as you can while pounding your fist into a table. That shit goes flying everywhere, and it's a real game to catch it all in your mouth. If you really want to spice up the bedroom, sharing a pouch of Capri Sun is just about the most romantic foreplay there is. You know what they say, Capri Sun makes every situation fucking weird. We'll be right back, folks. Geez, Billy, some folks just don't want to be helped, do they? Now, folks, people ask me all the time how I got to be so good at giving advice. Being able to know that someone needs to get a job and asking them questions to insinuate that they should feel embarrassed takes nearly a decade of graduate study in clinical psychology. And if you want to start a podcast, then you'd better get your ass on television for about 20 years first if a single person has the audacity to call me Mr. Phil. I've received this written notice from the governor of Texas excusing myself from any assault charges that I would face afterwards. Doctor is my legal first name. Friends, spring break is coming up pretty soon. Okay, now it's okay to let the old hair down every once in a while, especially for me. But don't go doing anything that's gonna fuck something up now. Beaches are gonna get full of people and they're gonna be chowing down on hot dogs and ice pops while young men in thigh-high denim shorts roller skate past, playing the latest popular songs on the Victrola. Children are going to form lifelong memories with magical ocean creatures, and families are going to need to think about the values that keep them together. That's why today's final sponsor is creamed corn. Nothing gathers a family around the dinner table like the smooth sound of an aluminum can cracking open as the newborn creamed corn inside breathes its first breath of life. Whenever we did all of our chores for the week, Mom would gather us around on a Sunday after church and we'd all pray together around a single can. She'd bust it open on the corner of the table like a fucking piñata, and me and my brothers and sisters and dogs would just chow down. There's corn, there's cream, it's got everything. These days, I drink creamed corn like a beverage directly out of the can. You can have it heated, chilled, or if you really want to beat the heat, put it in the freezer for a nice treat. Creamed corn. Terrible for your organs, great for your spirit. That's going to do it for this week's episode, friends. Remember, the hardest thing in the world is to live in it. Be brave. Good night.
What's got you down, friends? The worries of the world, the existential fear of death. You're out of control, team. Dr. fucking Phil is here to tell you what to do. It's not so hard, I tell you, just get a fucking job. Get a job, get a job. Go out and join the mob. Someday you can have one too.